Hello, this is Dread from Epic Builds. In today's video topic, we're going to be talking about my new build. It's going to be, well, actually, it's Jimg's new build. I'm just building his version, just a little bit different. But it is Rive Bleed Forge Guard. So in patch 8.2, Forge Guard got a bunch of buffs in this case, right? With armor scaling. Now, armor scaling is a lot more effective versus non-physical damage, which allows you to actually scale armor as your main defensive layer, which makes Forge Guard go from completely terrible to halfway decent. So I was playing this in the Vision tourney. This is completely SSF friendly, solo friendly, tourney friendly. I got to wave 284 in 2 days, or about 2.5 days ish. It depends. I actually wasted the first day because I accidentally messed up with the name, so I had to restart. So instead of a Paladin, I ended up playing a Forge Guard because I wanted to try a Forge Guard because I thought it was a cool idea because you can stack armor now, right? Well, this was in Vision's tourney. Like I said, if you guys don't know, Vision holds tourneys every weekend where he plays, where we play a certain skill and all that. We have some fun in regards to that. If you guys want to join the races we have every weekend and all that, I would heavily suggest joining his Discord, as most of the information will be there, and also follow Vision on Twitch. So for the build, the main idea is we're utilizing a node inside Rive called Execution, and the way that works is on our third strike, it consumes all ignites that we have on enemies and turns it into percentage fizz damage scaling. So this leads us to almost always having like 1,000% increased physical damage, and it scales all of our damage for us so we can focus all of our other stuff on tankiness. And that's exactly what we did. I ended up running Hammer and Anvil for 25% less damage taken. For 25% less damage, I focused most of my gear on tankiness. I have like 75% armor in most situations. I have like insane amounts of bleed single target, as this build has insane amounts of single target. And other than that, this is a very cheap build as well. I actually have expensive gear in this video, but that's because I got very lucky in this tourney. I dropped a Exalted T6 a Zweihander. So Zweihander is a new base. It gives you a bunch of flat melee damage sword, and it gives you Fizz Pen as well, which is insane for bleed because Fizz Pen works on bleed. So like it gives our bleeds 10% to 15% more damage. Now, I also managed to gamble a Wing Guards after a night of farming. That took forever. But after the Wing Guards, we were sitting about 160% increased attack speed, just generic. There's also 45% inside of the Rive tree for the first and second strike. Now, we are missing 30% attack speed in this video because for the last few points all the way up to 100, you have 30% more attack speed to get, and that will make your attack speed go through the roof. Now, the reason why we want all that attack speed is much like Surf and Strike, our physical percentage damage scales with our attack speed, meaning the more attack speed we have, the better. And obviously, the more attack speed we have, the more bleeds we proc, the more fizz damage we get, the more HP we get, like 8 loss and all that. Well, we're also running Abyssal Echoes. Now, Abyssal Echoes has a node inside of it that instead of giving you a void dot, it just ignites enemies instead. Now, for some reason, I don't know why, but this node allows Abyssal Echoes to hit and apply our bleeds for us. So we can actually kind of just stand around a pack and actually kill stuff with the Abyssal Echoes. It also stacks extra ignites on enemies so that we can consume them for even more damage, and it also gives us a shit ton of HP as well per echo, which keeps us sustained in very long fights. I will be honest, if I did not have Abyssal Echoes in a lot of those fights, I would not have reached 284. Now, another thing as well, the leech we get from Rive, there's a node inside Rive. It gives you 15% global damage leech after the third attack for 4 seconds, which is absolutely insane because it's global damage leech. So it happens for everything, including our bleed, our hits, our Abyssal Echo hits. Everything gives us leech 15%, which is one of the reasons why this build is so strong. It's not only the significant amount of damage reduction we have, it's also the significant amount of leech we have and sustain. I'm only at 2k life here, but you could easily push to the 3k if you have better gear than me. You can easily push to like 80% armor. Like I said, Jimg actually has the finished version of this build on his account, and he's been playing it and he's been having an absolute blast. It's finally nice to see Forge Guard actually viable again, thanks to the armor changes, and I'm very hyped to see what the armor changes have in store for other builds as well. And with that being said, let's get into the game, shall we? All right, here we are in game with the build. The name is Catch Up Noobs. So this is kind of a meme name, as so on the first day I actually played a Paladin all the way to about Rive Monolith, right? But I accidentally realized that the S here, I had it as a 5. I worked a 16-hour shift and put a 5 instead of an S. So that ruined my tourney results, so I had to respec. And after that, me and Jimg were talking, and I was showing me off his build with Rive, and he was like, "Hey, why don't you try this?" And that's how this was born. And the meme is like catch up noobs. It's mainly me. I needed to catch up. I don't know how I caught up, but through fucking grime and determination. So the skills mainly we're going to talk about Rive first. Is we're taking 2 points travel into Sever for the ignite chance, 2 points into Twisted Veins for even more ignite chance right on hit, and then we're taking 1 node into Execution. Rive's third strike consumes all stacks of ignites on enemies hit, granting you increased physical damage. Increased physical damage per stack for 2 seconds. So pretty much the way this works is you see my physical damage going up and up and up, as you can tell there, which is affecting my bleed. It's going up and down, up and down, up and down. And this is on a single target. If there was like multiple enemies nearby, this would obviously get much higher. So pretty much that gives us all of our percentage damage scaling that we could ever need. It's kind of like the Surf and Strike node as well. Now, we also run 3 points into Assassin Sustenance because Rive's third strike grants you leech for 4 seconds when it hits an enemy. So pretty much it gives us 15% global leech, which applies to all of our ignites, our bleeds, our hits, everything. And that's how we sustain with this build. Then, so we don't have to run a bleeding heart. 5 points into Flurry for the first and second strike attack speed. 3 points into Outburst for the area. 3 points into Brutality for the 60% more damage. It's just extra points. Why not, right? And then 1 point into Coup de Grace for the strike 3 kill threshold, because this helps us a lot on bosses, helps us a lot on rares. I've killed a lot of frostworms because of this, stuff like that, right? So I really like the node. You can also take 1 node down here, Rending, and then 1 in here for Indomitable if you have 2 extra points, if you have +2 to Rive, and get that Energy Strike, which counts as an extra hit for single target. But I didn't really like it much. I'd rather have the Execution, in my opinion. Then the second skill is we're running Abyssal Echoes. That's actually the skill that's on autocast here. So Abyssal Echoes is usually a void skill, but we go take 2 points into Echomancer, 2 points travel into Stolen Futures. Whenever Abyssal Echo echoes, meaning it whenever it echoes on stuff, it gives us life. And then 3 points into Fiery Abyss for ignite chance on hit, right? And then 1 point into Lightbringer. Abyssal Echoes deal fire damage to enemies and heal allies, but no longer applies Abyssal Decay. Now, it hits. And the reason why that's important is because it applies all of our bleed chance, all of our ignite chance, everything. Absolutely nuts, right? And it changes to enemies. Like, for instance, I'll show you here. It'll change to this enemy. And it'll just keep chaining for however many enemies we have, right? On the screen, you can get insane amounts of chain with this node. Then 1 point into Mental Echoes to make it instant cast, so I don't have to self-cast it. 2 points into Reality's Dirge for minus cooldown recovery speed, so we're at 3 seconds, right? 1 point into Abyssal Remains for some mana efficiency. 1 point into Temporal Echo so that it recasts, so we cast it twice. And then 3 points into Abyssal Cadence for 4 additional recasts. So it casts 4 single times every single time we attack. So the reason why we're able to sustain this is because of Rive's mana gained on use, thanks to the Sentinel tree here. Ooh, I have an extra point. Thanks to the Time and Faith here. So we can actually sustain Abyssal Echoes because of this. So it ignites stuff, so we steal those ignites and then gives us physical damage, and then it also sustains us in long fights. Now we also are running Sigils. Sigils is the normal setup. The most important thing with Sigils is we have it on autocast, so that we can cast it whenever we're moving. 1 point into Last Wish, so that we get a chance to summon Sigil on kill. We kill things, so it keeps it up for us. Then we also have Iron Sigils. Iron Sigils, this is the most important part, because we get a megaton of armor, as you can tell. 1 second. So we're at 42% armor, right? If I put all 4 sigils, we go up to 61% armor from 40% armor. So sigils are absolutely insane for this build. That's pretty much the most important part. Then for Volatile Reversal, we take 1 point to 2 points into Time Sap, 1 point into Time Loss Vitality for the cooldown recovery speed, 3 points into Warp Time for attack speed, because we want as much attack speed as possible, 3 points into Catching Up for the movement speed, 1 point into Terminal Void Rift, so you have an extra Void Rift, 1 point into Incipient Void Rift, so you have an extra Void Rift, 3 points into Disintegration for travel, then 3 points into Time Rift, so you have a buff that enemies take 60% more damage taken. Also with Abyssal Echoes, I forgot, we actually have a stacking debuff of 15% that keeps stacking every single time it hits. So this plus this scales our single target into insane amounts of damage. Then 2 points into Traveler's Fatigue for more cooldown recovery speed, and then 1 point into Time Lost Wisdom for another large amount of cooldown recovery speed, allowing us to pretty much spam reversal as much as we want, as it's one of the best ways of getting out of combat. Now we are also running Lunge. The most important thing about Lunge is just you have armor on use. That's all that matters really, because if we get the sigils up, right, Lunge gives us an insane amount of armor, which is nice, right? And of course the double strike. Like these are like your stereotypical Lunge things. And then that's pretty much it for the skills. Now for the passives, here we take 8 points into Juggernaut. The reason why we're stacking strength is so that we get more increased armor. Also the res is nice early game. 6 points into Fearless. We're actually going to be taking about, I think, 8 points into Fearless, and then 5 points into Blade Master for the last few points we have for the attack speed. 5 points into Armor Clad for the reduced damage taken from nearby enemies, then 5 points into Time and Faith, so we gain mana when we use Rive, so that we can sustain our Abyssal Echoes and our Sigils, right? Then for the Void Knight tree, we take 10 points into Abyssal Endurance, so we can get access to Volatile Reversal and Abyssal Echoes. 15 points into Paladin, 8 points into Conviction for Fizzpen, and this stacks with the Fizzpen on the sword and the amulet, which is insane. Then 1 point into Divine Bolt. Divine Bolts just give us extra ignites and bleeds, which is pretty nice. Pretty good for a 1-pointer, right? 1 point into Valor for travel. 5 points into Flash and Brilliance for the HP. I am not capped on my critical strike avoidance, so the blind chance helps a lot, which is very nice. And then it gets us up to sigils. Now for Forge Guard, this is a very point-intensive build, by the way. This is the first build I actually went and finished the campaign and killed Ugan with for like the longest of times because of how much points it takes to actually make this work. Then 8 points into Weapons Master for more strength. 1 point travel into Battle Harden for just some more armor. 1 point into Peltast. 4 points travel into Shieldbreaker, and then 5 points into the Hammer and Anvil. So pretty much all you need to know about this is we take 25% less damage, and we deal 25% less damage. So as you can tell, if you look at my damage here, I'm dealing 25% less damage literally everywhere. And why that's important is so that we gain a lot more HP, effective HP thanks to our armor stacking, our DR stacking, all this combines to give us a lot of EHP. Then 10 points into Smelter's Might, we gain a shit ton of bleed chance and a shit ton of ignite chance since we're running a two-hander. Absolutely insane. 1 point travel into Iron Reflexes so that our dodge potion on use actually gives us armor, which is insanely strong because that's just another 500 flat armor for free. Then 6 points. You'll want 6 points eventually in Might, but I used it to travel. 5 points into Infinite Bulwark. This is how we get a shit ton of armor on potion use, so that whenever we use a potion, we get a shit ton of armor. And since we get the increased chance to find potions on potion use, potions are literally everywhere. And then 8 points into Molded by the Forge for the 40% increased attack speed. This plus combined with the 30% attack speed would be absolutely insane, because right now we're already at 136, 161, and then we gain even more thanks to the Blade Master, right? We also have attack speed on our weapon. And that's pretty much it for the passives. Now for the gearing, for idols, we want Bleed, Ignite Chance. Bleed, Ignite Chance, Manifest Weapon is very strong as it adds an extra hit. As you can tell, just every so often adds an extra hit for us, which is very strong. We take 2 of these HP ones, the percentage HP. You want flat percentage on both these for HP. You want Bleed or Manifest Weapon, then Bleed, and then we have cold damage taken as physical, which works well because we're running armor. And then that's pretty much it for idols. Mainly you want like this, but with Bleed, 2 here, and then Bleed, and then HP. That's mainly what you want. These small ones don't really matter, so you might as well ignore them. Now for our wet helm, we have Bleed effect. Necrotic damage taken as physical. I wish I could have taken this off and just run Vitality instead, as just running HP seems to be better. Endurance percentage and then HP percentage. We want it on the crit avoidance base. For the amulet, we were running a bone amulet for the res, increased damage. Physical penetration, I have a very low roll on that, tier 1. Frailty, you want a higher roll on that, and then some HP. This is a pretty shitty amulet, as you can tell. Now for a weapon, I dropped this. I'm very proud of it, and I'm going to show it off. It's a T6 physical Zweihander with 11% physical pen, 47% attack speed, some slow on hit, which works with our Abyssal Echoes as it actually chains to enemies and actually slows them for us, and then chance to bleed on hit, obviously. So in real life scenarios, you'd probably want chill on hit on that slow on hit instead. That would probably be very strong, but I was not lucky enough to run it. Like I said, I'm very lucky to just even have this thing, right? So Zweihander is your best sword because you want physical pen, so that's obviously what you want. Then for the ring, I'm running an ivory ring. This is a pretty good ring, other than the fact that we have 9% increased fire damage taken. Ignore that. Pretend that doesn't exist. You'd rather just run like physical damage or something like that. Then our belt, dodge potion, ignite chance, HP, probably percentage HP, and hybrid. You want the dodge chance because it can turn to armor. Ignite chance because we consume our ignites to physical damage. So this is just increased damage for us. Then for our ring, vitality, strength, HP. I have a little bit of fire res to cap me off because my gear is pretty bad because I was in a race. Wing guards, I finally gambled a pair of these. Got a really good pair as well, which is very nice. After like 5 Laraka's claws dropping and like gambling and all that, and then a Malahin's hubris, I finally got a wing guards. I think it took over like $1.5 million gold to get this, and usually it takes a little bit more than that, so I got really lucky on that. So it just gives us a mega ton of attack speed. Then for boots, this is the perfect pair of boots, other than the fact that HP isn't hybrid and like you just need better rolls. I just have shit rolls because, you know, RNG. Then for crest, we're running an Argent crest with cold res, lightning res, strength, res. Like you could probably fit HP in here if you have better gear, but I don't have better gear. And then that's pretty much it for the gearing. With that being said, thank you Jimg for giving me the build. Thank you Vision for holding the tourney. I am going to probably finish my tourney now because I have work tomorrow and I have other things to do. And with that being said, thank you all for watching and have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you're at, and bye!